Live from George Westinghouse College Prep, Lane Tech boys basketball is on the air for the first time this 2022-2023 season. The Lane Tech champions hit the road as they look for what would be a big win against the Westinghouse Warriors, one of the surprise teams of the 2022-23 season here in the Chicago Public League Red Northwest. Lane Tech looking to bounce back from a tough loss against the Lincoln Park Lions. North Lawndale looking to do the same thing. They had a rough game against North Lawndale earlier this week. We will see which team can come back better from that tough defeat here tonight at Westinghouse. Thank you so much for joining us. My name's Alex Burstein, above midcourt here at Westinghouse, a beautiful gymnasium. My first time being here. Lane Tech played here 2 years ago during the COVID season, but they have not had a regular game here in a long time, and they will be looking to pull off what would be a pretty big win for them here on the road tonight. Lane Tech entering tonight's matchup 6-8, but more importantly 1-3 in conference play. It has been a really rough go at it in conference play for Lane Tech this year, and they find themselves in worry of dropping out of the White Conference, something they have not done in quite some time. Lane Tech is going to have to win the games that they are supposed to win and win a game or two that they are not supposed to win here in the last few weeks of the conference season if they want to stay up in the Red Northwest. This is one of the games they're not really expected to win, so if Lane Tech can get a win here tonight, that is going to be big for them, but it is not going to come easy. Westinghouse comes in tonight with a 10-9 record, 4-2 in conference play. Some big wins, 5-point win over Clark earlier this season. They got the win over Lincoln Park. They've had some strong wins over teams like Vernon Hills, but they've yet to win a game in the 2023 part of the season. Losses to Curie, their biggest loss of the year by 30 points, and coming off a 5-point defeat to North Lawndale. So the Warriors have yet to have a win in this calendar year. We will see if they can do that here tonight in just under 4 minutes at George Washington College Prep. We'll get your starting lineup now for Westinghouse. We're not able to get the starting lineup for Lane, but I'm assuming as of now that they are going with their normal starting five. The starters tonight for the Warriors, it'll be the senior captain wearing number 0, D'Artagnan DJ Butler. The 6'4 senior wing has had a couple of really big games this year. He's been a leader for this squad the last 2 years, and he's looking for a big game here tonight. One of the names you might recognize if you follow Lane Tech football, Askia Bole, the 6-foot junior guard, gets the start. He played well against Lane Tech last year. He's just a super athlete. I watched him play against Lane Tech a couple of months ago as a football player on the turf field here at Westinghouse. Is a very athletic quarterback, helped lead Westinghouse to the state playoffs, but he's also a very, very good basketball player. He's played with Shahid Salibo, Lane Star in the past, and he is a player to watch. Hasn't had any big games since the Christmas tournament season, and he could be due for a big one here tonight. Number 2, Damian DJ Bolden, another captain, the third and final captain for this Westinghouse squad. A 6'2 junior guard gets the start. The transfer has had a good season, and coming off a 17-point game against North Lawndale, he'll look to put up similar figures here tonight. And the final 2 starters, number 10, Terrell Craig, a 6'1 senior guard. He had some minutes last year against Lane Tech. And number 11, Isaiah Giles, a 6-foot senior guard. He's coming off a 13-point performance against North Lawndale College Prep. A couple of big performances out of this team in that defeat to the Condors. We will see what they can do here tonight against Lane Tech. We are expecting the 5 for the champions to look at like what it has these last couple of games, which has been Shahid Salibo, of course, one of the captains for this Lane Tech squad, alongside Jack Tor, number 10, the senior guard, Parker Williams, number 23, the junior guard slash forward, Jackson Labcon, number 24, the junior guard, and number 35, the sophomore forward slash center, Dalton Scantlebury. That's a starting lineup that has had its times where it's been playing very well. Wednesday night was not one of those nights for Lane Tech. They fell by 8 to Lincoln Park, a team that they thought they could beat pretty handedly. It did not end up happening that way. They played well in the first half, and then second half kind of just fell all apart. They came back at one point. They were within 5, but almost down the entire second half by double digits. They were not able to cut into that Lincoln Park lead at all, and it ended up being an 8-point defeat for the champions, leaving them at 1-3 in conference play and setting up a very big matchup here on this Friday night from Westinghouse. Lane Tech and Westinghouse playing in their last 6 games. Westinghouse has had the big advantage. They've won 5 of the last 6 games here against the champions. The last win was on a neutral court back in 2014 for the champions. They won 64-63 on February 5th. Here we are 9 years later nearly. Lane Tech looking for their first win against Westinghouse in recent history. Both the teams at their bench will be ready for tip-off here in just a couple of seconds. There's 25 seconds on the clock. Not sure if they do the starting lineups and national anthem here or not. We will see that in a second, but either way, we are just about ready for tip-off here. This is game number 1 of a busy weekend for Lane Tech. They have their game here tonight, and then in the morning, they're going to board a bus bright and early to take on Padua Franciscan tomorrow night. That is a game in Ohio. It's going to be the furthest away game of the season for Lane Tech, but it's going to be a fun trip, and we'll see if Lane Tech can get an out-of-state victory for the first time this year. They have 2 out-of-state opponents, Padua being the first of those 2, so we'll see what the champions can do tomorrow night. But first, it is the Warriors and the champions in some Red Northwest Friday night action. It's going to be Westinghouse in their white uniforms going from left to right across your screen. Champions in their green uniforms going from right to left, and we were correct. It is going to be Labcon, Soar, Solibo, Scantlebury, and Williams, year 5 on the court. In the center circle to start things off tonight, it'll be DJ Butler for the Warriors and Dalton Scantlebury for the champions. Scantlebury has about 2 or 3 inches listed at 2, but looks to be closer to maybe 3 inches over Butler. We'll see if he can get the opening tip. We mentioned this in the opening. This is the first time Lane Tech has played in a true away game this season. They've had a couple showcases, but this is their first time hitting the road against an opponent in the opponent's gymnasium as we are underway here at Westinghouse. 7:50 and counting to go here on the clock as Lane Tech looks for a big conference comeback victory as first shot off the mark here for DJ Bolden, and we'll see if Lane Tech can get on the scoreboard first here tonight. Jack Tsor will control the ball on the first possession. It's held scoreless on Wednesday as Solibo driving to the basket will draw the foul. One of the problems for Lane Tech, really the main problem for Lane Tech against the Lions on Wednesday, there was just a lot of sloppy play. We saw a lot of fouls. 27 turnovers was the final number for the champions. They can limit those turnovers, limit the fouls, limit the travels here tonight. That is how the champions are going to contend with this strong Westinghouse team. As Solibo gets the inbound pass here to Labcon. I thought that was going to be a shooting foul, but instead they call it underneath the basket. Nice defense there from Butler. Heads out of bounds, and it will stay Lane Tech possession here. 7:26 to go in the first quarter. Scoreless here at Westinghouse. We'll see if Lane Tech can hit the first basket of the night. Soar gets it to Labcon. Probably had time to shoot a quick 3 there, but decides not to. Labcon actually did not had a pretty good game against Lincoln Park. He had 13 points in the losing effort for the champions, but that was one of, if not his highest scoring games of the season. So he drives the baseline, gets it to an open Jack Tsor. Very long possession here. Scantlebury hooks in the first shot of the night, though, for the champions, and it's a 2-0 lead here for Lane Tech early on. Lane Tech got that possession at about 7:40. That shot from Scantlebury went on at about 7 minutes exactly. So a 40-second possession, 3 inbounds for the champions on that drive, but it ends up with a point. And we just had a sound go off. It sounded like a shot clock, but there are no shot clocks here at Westinghouse. I'm not sure what that is. But anyways, the players will play on 2-0, the early lead for Lane Tech. They work it inside to the big man. Out for 3. This one off the mark. That's the first shot from Bole we've seen tonight. And it's off the mark. So 0 for 2 shooting early on for Westinghouse. We'll see if Lane Tech can take advantage. 2-0, your early score. Nice defense here. Almost poked away there from Giles, who's done a good job of containing Solibo early. Lane Tech star has not had any open looks yet. This is a long baseline pass, something Lane Tech really likes to do, and that's going to be a travel called against Parker Springer. So we don't usually count travels, but after a 9-travel performance from Lane Tech on Wednesday, we are going to count them here tonight, and that will be travel number 1 here tonight for the champions. As Westinghouse gets the basketball back, Bole running the point here early on. He swings it to his guard teammate Bolden. There's 3 captains on this squad, all of them in the starting lineup: Butler, Bolden, and Bole. Passing it down low, under 6 now to play here in the first quarter. Pretty slow-paced matchup here early on between these two teams. Both of them taking their time on possession, as Bole with a nice pass, 3 on its way from Giles, who drains it. Giles makes that one look easy, and it's a 3-2 lead. Westinghouse takes the lead in their home gymnasium for the first time here tonight, 3-2, with 5:15 to play in the first quarter. So Lebo darts a pass down low to Labcon, tries to do some work in the post, and will get called for a foul. We did not get the names of the referees, but a couple of familiar-looking referees here in the Public League Red Northwest for tonight's matchup between the champions and the Warriors, as we're going to see the first sub come into the game here for Westinghouse. That's going to be number 12, Dwayne DJ Brooks. Very, very good football player, but also pretty decent on the basketball court as well. Brooks had a very good season for this Westinghouse football team, and now he gets minutes early on in this matchup. Jack Zori thinks about the 3, instead's going to drive in looking for his first points. Can't get it. Nice rebound from Scantlebury. He's the lone scorer here tonight for Lane Tech, but can't make it 2 baskets. Springer, corner 3. Air ball, and about 3 missed opportunities on that possession for the champions. We'll see if Westinghouse can make them pay. Boley puts it top the key, 3 ball on its way, and Solivo rocked him as Bolden was firing that 3, and that's going to be 3 free throws here early on for Damian DJ Bolden, the 6'2 junior guard captain. I think Solivo just had a little too much momentum, came crashing into Bolden as he took that shot. And as a result, that's 3 free throws now for the junior. First one goes off the rim. As we mentioned, the transfer is coming off a 17-point performance, had 2 steals as well against North Lawndale on Wednesday. It was a losing effort, but North Lawndale's been very good in conference play, and Westinghouse was able to only fall to them by 5, so should be not a horrible sign for this Westinghouse team, as Bolden goes 1 for 3 from the line and will increase it to a 2-point lead, the largest it's been here tonight. Neither team has seen a multi-possession lead here early on. We'll see if Lane Tech can be the first team to do it. First, they have to come back from this 2-point deficit. Jack Zor gets stuck up here, where we've seen some very quality defense in the front here from Terrell Craig and Isaiah Giles. They're showing some very good athleticism defending the basketball. Now Labcon pushes it to Jack Zor, and a cutting Springer down low to Scantlebury, and he gets blocked. A big block there. Now 3 ball on its way. This one off the mark. And the shooting still struggle here early on. Solibo with some tight defense, and this should be a backcourt violation. As Scantlebury ran after it to try to get the basketball, it'll instead be picked up there by Askia Bole, and that will bring the basketball back to Lane Tech. So Lane Tech has had their possessions here early on. The problem has been them cashing in on them. And we apologize, folks. It was not Dwayne Brooks who checked in a couple seconds ago. It was Cameron McIntyre, 32, not 12. So McIntyre into the game as Solibo heads to the basket, fouled on the ground. That's interesting. We've seen Solibo drive to the basket, get fouled 2 times. Both of the times the referees have said that the fouls are on the ground. So Lane Tech not getting the benefit of the doubt with those here early on. 3-4-2 the lead for Westinghouse over Lane Tech here. 3:54 to go in the first quarter. Lane Tech scored with 7 minutes to play in the first. They are on a 3+ minute scoring drought now as Labcon trying to find an opening there on the left side. Lane Tech is holding the ball a lot as Labcon now fires for 3 and hits it. Lane Tech takes back the lead here. 5-4, 3.5 to play in the first quarter. Labcon with his first shot of the night. first shot made of the night, I should say, to finally break that scoring drought for the champions. McIntyre misses an easy two underneath the basket, and now Lane Sack will push it in transition. Labcon works it to Parker Springer, a wide open three, same spot. He can't finish it though. Scantlebury comes out of nowhere for the rebound, and he has his second basket of the night. Timeout's going to be called by head coach for the Westinghouse Warriors, Rafe Fields, and Lane Sack is out to their biggest lead of the night, 7-4 here with 3:06 to go in the first quarter. A very good job for Lane Sack. Their offense had been silent there for a couple of minutes, but we see that three from Jackson Labcon, and it kind of just sets off the momentum for Lane Sack. Williams unable to complete the three, but Dalton Scantlebury, who has 4 points already in this one, is there for the rebound and the putback, and he scores to give Lane Sack the lead here. So 7-4 is your score. Scantlebury's been kind of quiet as of recently. He had a streak going for a while of 15-plus point games, put up 5 against Schurz and then 5 against Lincoln Park. He already has 4 here tonight, so is set to break out of that 5-point curse should he score at least one more field goal here tonight, and he has plenty of time to do it. Just 3 minutes and change to go here in the first quarter. A lot of action still to play, but Lane Sack has the early lead over Westinghouse. We'll get you around the conference and more coming up at the halftime break, but a win here for Lane Sack, very, very important if they want to stay up in the red conference this season. Westinghouse, 4 wins. They've probably kept it. They're looking to stay up in the red. They've been here since, I believe, 2018. The first season that Field was here, they dropped, and then the very next season they got back up to the red as Scantlebury with his first block of the night. He's doing everything here tonight. Now Williams down low to Scantlebury. Labcon, second 3-ball of the night. This one unable to find the basket, but he gets his own rebound. Labcon playing very well. Misses the 15-footer, though, and a couple of missed chances there. I was kind of surprised Scantlebury did not post up. He's by far the tallest player on the court. This is a Westinghouse team, very athletic, not as tall, though, as straight to the basket for the score is Damian Bolden. He was able to easily get past about 4 guys on that Lane Sack defense. They're going to want to limit that as Westinghouse cuts the lead to 7-6. 2 minutes to play here in quarter number 1. Working his way to the basket. Floater off the mark. Going up for 2, though. And the quick score by Drew Bartoli, who we did not even notice checked into the game. But Bartoli has been heating up as of recent. Had a few baskets on Wednesday as a quick response 3 from Giles, his second of the night. And we're all knotted up at 9 here with 1:45 to play in quarter number 1. Seems like whenever Lane Sack gets a little bit of momentum, it is quickly silenced by this Westinghouse team. We kind of saw similar things in the last 2 games. Lane was finally able to get some momentum second half against Schurz, but they did not have any momentum for more than a minute or 2 against Lincoln Park. They're able to kind of find an environment here tonight where they're able to score and defend. That's going to be very key for them as Lorenzo Aquino checks into the game for Parker Williams. Aquino, Solibo, Scantlebury, Bartoli, and Labcon, your 5 on the court. We've yet to see Jackson Labcon check out of the game. He's usually one of the first guys out, but he's been playing well. And with 81 seconds left in the first quarter, he remains in the lineup here for the champions as Bolle hops with it, passes it to his left-hand side. Trayvon Alley into the game right now. Now Bolle cuts to the basket, out 3-ball on its way. This is where Westinghouse has feasted tonight, but they're unable to let this one fall. They will get the offensive rebound into the hands of Giles. 1 minute to play here in the first quarter. Giles with 6 points already. Nice bounce pass. Finishing with the 2 is Terrell Craig. A little bit of a dynamic duo there. You have the 3 kind of slimmer guards for the Warriors, but both Craig and Giles have been playing very well on the defensive and offensive side of things, and they are a big part as to why Westinghouse has the lead right now, 11-9. Bartoli hands it off to Aquino, almost loses it right after coming into the game, but he's able to get it to Solibo. They've done a very good job of guarding Solibo. Bartoli, though, under the baskets, finishes with the 2 because of this increased defense on Lane Sack's stars has meant a couple more openings for Lane Tech's Bartola, and a charge called here against the Warriors means Lane Tech will get the basketball back with 20.2 seconds left. We'll see if they can hold for a final shot. It's been a very fast-paced first quarter of play. We've seen 4 fouls called, 1 timeout. But both the teams were missing shots early on. It kept the clock going, and now these last couple of minutes, the offense is heating up. Labcon has to go with the weird lay-in. He was slipping there at the end, it looked like, but he will get the basket to fall. He has 5 points now. Giles heaves up a 3, can't get it to go. Labcon has one more shot. It's going to be a full-court attempt and falls a few feet short. And that will bring us to the end of 1 quarter of play, 13-11. Lane Tech with the early lead over the Westinghouse Warriors. Don't go anywhere. You're watching Lane Tech boys basketball here on the Lane Tech Athletics YouTube channel. A fun first 8 minutes of basketball here at Westinghouse College Prep. Lane Tech takes a 13-11 lead over Westinghouse after a last-second lay-in, which was at a very weird angle, but somehow it was able to fall by Jackson Labcon. That gives the champions a 2-point lead. Labcon, the leading scorer right now for Lane Tech with 5 to go along with 4 from Bartoli and 4 from Scantlebury. Scantlebury had 4 of the first 7 points of the game for the champions. It was quiet there near the end as they started to guard him a little more aggressively, but he was a big part as to the good start for the champions as he will break the huddle still on the court. He's yet to get subbed out. Lane Tech will break the huddle with Williams, Bartoli, Aquino, Labcon, and Scantlebury. So I believe we just saw Williams check into the game for Salibo. Salibo checks out for the first time here tonight, and they will instead have another junior, Williams, in the positions. Williams plays kind of a hybrid 3-4 position for the champions, listed as a guard, but a lot of this season he's been playing more of a forward position as Labcon gets up quickly across midcourt against Oskiabole. We've not seen a lot of pressing here early on as Labcon to the basket, finishes again. That left hand for Jackson Labcon cannot be stopped as Lane Tech takes their first 2-possession lead of the night, 15-11, with 7.5 to play in the first quarter. Jackson Labcon here early on with 2 crazy finishes. Now Giles for 3, can't make every single one of them. Bole with the putback, and finally Lorenzo Aquino comes up with the rebound. He's trying to go coast to coast, takes it himself, and finishes with the 2. This is a new type of offense Lane Tech is playing. They are just crashing the boards for layups tonight, and it is working. They have a 6-point lead, 7 minutes to play here in the first half of play, and Jackson Labcon and Lorenzo Aquino with 2 acrobatic finishes, first from the left-hand side, then from the right-hand side, to give Lane Tech the lead with 6:50 to go here in the first half. Bole trying to break this scoring drought. He can. That's 2 straight threes missed to start off this quarter for the Warriors. And a little bit of momentum has shifted into the direction of the champions. Bartoli cuts to the basket, can't get the finish, but will get the foul called. A blocking foul called here against Craig. His first, it looks like, the team's 4th. So, excuse me, the team's 5th. So Lane Tech close to being put into bonus. Lane Tech was fouling a lot on Wednesday night. That has not been the case here early on. They just have 1 foul through the first 9.5 minutes of gameplay. As first free throw up and missed here from Bartoli. Rosenkrantz checks into the game from Jackson Labcon. A couple fans cheering for him on the visitors' side. Labcon with a very impressive start to this game. We mentioned him coming off a 13-point performance, which was a season high. Now he has 7 already through the first 9 minutes. as Bartoli misses both of the free throws, and it will go off of, they'll say Williams there. For a second, it looked like Lane Tech was going to luck out and keep possession, but it will be Westinghouse basketball. 6:27 to play, 17-11. Lane Tech with the lead over Westinghouse. Into the game for the Warriors is number 30, Jamarion Owens. He loses the basketball, though, on his first carry of the night. And now it'll be Okino for three. Can't get it to go. Scantlebury, though, is there for the rebound. He goes up for two and will get fouled. Scantlebury to the line. That's team foul number 6, and Lane now 1 away from being put into the bonus. That's one of the big advantages of having a player like Dalton Scantlebury on your team. McIntyre's the tallest player listed for Westinghouse at 6'5". Scantlebury's listed at 6'6", so he has at least an inch, most of the players 3-4 inches on them, and his height has been just dominating the boards as Scantlebury makes the front end of a 1-and-1. Dylan Pepper will check into the game soon for Scantlebury. They tried to buzz him in right there, but Scantlebury at the line, so he can't. And the second shot now is good. Scantlebury, who most of the year has been a 1-for-2 guy from the line, makes the first, misses the second, or vice versa. He goes 2-for-2 from the line there to add to his total. He's up to 4 points here tonight, and it is a 19-11 lead here for Lane Tech. We've yet to see Westinghouse score in quarter number 2. Lane Tech is on a 8-0 run since it was tied at 11-11. All of those made either on 2-point field goals or free throws, as to the basket, count it. Damian Bolden, he's been impressive here tonight. And he'll look to finish off the 3-point play here as they cut into the lead, 19-13, 5:48 to play in the first quarter. So we were talking about this earlier tonight. This is the 4th season in a row for Westinghouse as Bolden missed the shot there. Very interesting. A Westinghouse team photographer shot a photo with flash just as Bolden was having the ball leave his hands. I have to imagine as a shooter that's a little bit distracting. Bolden does end up missing the shot as Pepper drives the baseline, and that was just a little too hot to handle for Drew Bartoli. Went through his hands there. And Westinghouse will get the basketball. Lane Tech head coach Nicholas Legabo, a lot calmer here tonight than what we saw from him against Lincoln Park. Happy with what he's seen out of his team early on as they try to get conference win number 2 on the season. They're going to have Owens, they're going to have Giles, the 6-foot senior guard, bring it up the court. Now Craig top the key. He works right around Pepper. Would have been a very impressive finish there. Just moved his arms around 2 of the Lane Tech players. But it's going to be Rosenkrantz instead bringing the ball up the court for the champions. Springer down low to Solibo, who's back in the game. They do the long pass to Rosenkrantz. Good save. Aquino with the NBA 3. Rattles around the rim and out. 2 very good 3-point attempts from Aquino, but both have bounced back, and another and one here for the Warriors. This time it's going to be, once again it is Bolden. So Bolden with 2 very impressive performances, 2 very impressive finishes with 5 minutes to go here in the second quarter. He single-handedly kind of brought Westinghouse back into this game, and if he can make this shot, it'll be a 1-possession game, as he does. This time the photographer waited a second to move the flash, and it is a 19-16 game, 3-point lead for the champions. Under 5 now to play in quarter number 2. Springer guarded by Owens, it looks like there. There'll be Aquino. Seen both of these defenses kind of allow the players to work their way into the paint like what we just saw there from Springer. It's been kind of a hands-off approach. I see that from Westinghouse especially. They have 6 fouls. They don't want to foul, but even Lane Tech, so Westinghouse team has done a very good job of working their way into the paint, as a little bit of miscommunication there leads to the ball flying out of the hands of Owens, out of bounds, and Lane Tech will luck out to get the basketball back. They've seen an 8-point lead collapse into a 3-point lead here with 4 minutes and 20 seconds to play in quarter number 2. They'd love to get this back to a multi-possession game, which they can do on this possession. Rosenkrantz thought about the three there, gets a screen to his right. He's dancing around the perimeter before finally passing it off. Kind of a small ball lineup. Rosenkrantz blocked at the basket. A big jump there and blocked from Bole. And on the other end of things, Salibo gets him right back with a two-handed block. Apologies, that was Bolden who made the block with a smile on his face. But Salibo returns the favor. And both teams will be kept off the scoreboard, at least for the time being. Inbound pass goes to Butler, who's been quiet early on. Dancing inside, Giles tries for the crazy lay-in and finishes. Wow, if you're a fan of acrobatic layups, this is the game to watch. We have seen some crazy ones. Giles with that one. Labcon had a pair of very impressive left-handed layups as we finally see the press kind of coming here from Westinghouse. Williams gets caught up and passes it to Aquino. Nice job there by Lorenzo Aquino to save it. Pepper in the corner, pulls for three off the mark. Lane's had mixed success here tonight with the three ball. There's a couple of kind of momentum-changing threes made. However, at this point, they've missed a couple in a row as Bolden holds it inside. They were just waiting for a guy to get open. Now Giles can't hit the three, but a very well thought out play there. Kind of just threw the ball in a straight line with the connector in the middle and got a wide open three because of it. Williams can't finish at the basket, gets his own rebound though after knocking the ball away. Aquino on the left-hand side gets the lay in the go. That's another two for Lorenzo Aquino. He is up to 4 points here tonight. And Lane Tech moves back in front 20-18. 2.5 to play in the first half. Giles, who's been the player of the game here, crashes to the basket, and the blocking foul is going to be called against Dylan Pepper, who I believe is going to be checking out of the game momentarily either way, as Dalton Scantlebury will come in for the champions. But Isaiah Giles, we have not been keeping track of the points here yet for the Warriors, but he's had at least 2 threes, I believe a field goal. He's probably at 8 or 9 points here early on for Westinghouse as he drains the first of 2. They gave a point to Lane Tech. It was originally 20-18. Now it's 21-18. We'll see if they keep it at that or not. They're having some trouble with the fouls, and the scoreboard for a second there said that Lane Tech had 99 fouls. Now they're going to move it back down, it looks like, to 4. So Lane Tech still has 2 fouls to give in the first half as a second free throw good. 2 for 2 from the line there from Giles. And the lead now down to 1 for Lane Tech. 21-20, 2:20 to play. It was all Lane Tech out of the gate. They were really crashing towards the basket. They did not need to really find good shots as Salibo gets tripped up there, finds his way to the ground, and the basketball finds its way out of bounds. So Westinghouse gets possession back. As we mentioned, Westinghouse looking for their first win of the 2023 part of the season. Lane Tech 1-1 in this calendar year as a long pass sails to the corner. Neither of these teams, Westinghouse more so than Lane Tech, but neither of them have had great three-point shots. There's been a lot of contested shots, a lot of layup attempts here tonight, but the scoring hasn't been super slowly paced. Both teams with 20 points here as Williams gets it to Scantlebury back in the corner. 6 points already tonight for Dalton Scantlebury. We'll see if he can add to his total. Down low, goes up for 2, but gets rejected by the rim. And now Westinghouse with a chance to take back the lead. They push it into the corner. Excellent ball movement. There's an open guy in the perimeter. Instead, Giles takes it himself and finishes. Lane Tech's going to need a response to Isaiah Giles because as of right now, he is just picking apart this Lane Tech defense as he puts Westinghouse back up in front 22-21. Lane Tech had an 8-0 run to start off this half. They led 19-11. Since then, it has been a, trying to do some quick math here, 11-2 run for Westinghouse to take back the lead with a minute to play in the first half. To the basket, not able to finish was was Ali there, Trayvon Ali, the 6'3 junior wing. And now Lane Tech with the chance to bring it back. This is a game that we Expected to be kind of close. I assumed Westinghouse would have the upper hand as Scantlebury adds another field goal, but you can expect if the second half plays out the way this one did, a lot of back and forth play, a lot of lead changes, a lot of ties. I know they keep track of those stats in the college and professional game. We don't have those stats at the high school level, but it's definitely going to be a pretty high number here tonight. 23-22, Lane Tech with the lead over Westinghouse as Ali holds it for what looks like is going to be a final shot for the Warriors. Lane Tech just holding tight in a 2-3 zone. 7 seconds left. They are really holding for a last shot. 3 seconds. I'm not sure if he's only even going to get one off, and he drains a three at the end of the quarter. That is one way to end a half. Trayvon Ali just holds the basketball for the last 20 seconds. Lane Tech's coaching staff not happy with that one, and it will be a 25-23 lead for the Warriors as they head to the locker room, and the clock starts ticking here for the halftime break. Thanks for joining us. Alex Burstein on the call here from Westinghouse, and you know, an interesting first half of play. So for those of you who are not with us for the whole first half, the first quarter was pretty well contested by both the teams. It ended up being a 2-point Lane Tech lead at the end of the first half, but one could say that the better playing team in that first half was Westinghouse. They were finding open shots. They were finding their way to the basket. They had some nice scores, so it was a very impressive first quarter of play from Westinghouse. And then out of the gate there in quarter number 2 came the Lane Tech champions. They go on 5-0 run, 8-0 run if you count back to the first quarter to break out a 19-11 lead, but then Westinghouse comes storming back. They end the quarter on a trying to do some math here, 14-4 run as they take a 2-point lead into the locker room, highlighted by a 3 at the end of the half by Trayvon Ali. NBA range, beyond NBA range there for the junior for the Warriors, and that is where things stand through 16 minutes of play, 25-23. It's going to be an exciting 16 minutes of action coming up, and as we recap your first half scoring here, kind of a balanced scoring effort. The one big question mark for Lane Tech is if they're going to be able to get Shahid Solibo involved in the third and fourth quarter. He was held scoreless in the first half. He did not score. He did not even take that many shots. He was on the bench for a little. We saw whenever he was into the game, very tight defense from the Warriors on him. They did a very good job locking up Shahid Solibo, the star for this Lane Tech team. And because of that, that is a good 5-10 points off the scoreboard that Lane Tech did not have in the first half of play. If they're able to activate him, I think Lane Tech is definitely the team to keep an eye out for in this second half. But if not, Westinghouse definitely has the upper hand to a fifth conference win here tonight. To take you through the players that did score, 4 for Lorenzo Aquino, 4 for Drew Bartoli. Those two have combined for 8 here tonight, to go along with 7 from Jackson Labcon, and then finally an 8-point performance from Dalton Scantlebury in the first half. He had 3 2-point field goals and a pair of free throws. Very impressive play from the sophomore, balanced through the first and second quarter. He breaks out of a slump he had been. 5 points against Lincoln Park, 5 against Schurz. Scantlebury has kind of woken up here tonight, but he's going to need the rest of his team to bring in some scoring in the second half if this team wants to contend for a victory here tonight on the road. For those of you just joining us, this is the first away game of the season for Lane Tech, and you may be thinking that does not sound right, and that is because it does not sound right, but it is 100% true. They had 3 showcase games where they played at neutral sites, but they hosted their Thanksgiving tournament, so they had home games through the first week, and then they've had some cancellations. They've had games moved to Lane that were supposed to be away, and it is going to be the 3rd month of the season now where Lane Tech finally hits the road. I don't think their game has played much being in an away environment. Some nice student crowd here tonight at Westinghouse. Not a super loud environment for Lane Tech to play in, but they are holding their own on the away court, the home of the Westinghouse Warriors. with 6 minutes to go here in the halftime break. Your halftime score 25-23, Westinghouse on top of Lane Tech. We'll take you around the conference now. A busy night of Chicago Public Red Northwest action. Per usual, 5 games going on with all 10 of the teams in the conference in action. Farragut traveling up to Clark. That game was set for a 5 p.m. tip-off. That actually could be an interesting game. Those teams have both had their highs and their lows, just looking at their scores from this season. That could be a competitive one. Another matchup, obviously this one, Lane at Westinghouse. North Lawndale traveling to Orr. Orr had 1 or 2 good games, but North Lawndale should have that one in hand. Perspectives traveling to Lincoln Park. Lincoln Park obviously coming off of that big win over Lane Tech for their 4th win of the season. We'll see if the Lions can make it 2 in a row. And Young was traveling up to Prosser. That's probably the easiest game to guess this season. Prosser, bottom of the conference. Whitney Young, top of the conference. Dolphins should be able to put that one away easily, but you never know. There's always upsets in the public league, and that is going to be your 5 matchups around the conference here tonight. All those games were set for a 5 p.m. tip-off, so they should be all getting underway. It was a very quick first half here at Westinghouse. It's 5:35 right now, and we're over 5 minutes into halftime, so about 30 minutes exactly of gameplay. If we follow that pace in the second half as well, this game will be over before 6:15, which is not something you see a lot in these high school games. Obviously, Lane Tech a lot of the time starts their games late. They're pretty far ways away from the rest of the teams in the conference, but these away games where they're able to get there on time, get the prompt 5 o'clock starts, that makes for some quicker nights on the road for the champions, at least speaking back to past years where Lane Tech took the road. The standings in the Red Northwest entering tonight, Young at top at 4-0. They're 14-4 overall, currently ranked number 2 in the area by the Sun-Times. There's a good chance that Whitney Young's going to be ranked number 1 in the area when Lane Tech plays them next week. But right now they sit at number 2, number 1 in the conference. North Lawndale sits at 2nd place. They're 4-1, 6-8 overall. North Lawndale's not done great out of conference play. Just 2 wins, a 2-7 record outside of conference. But when they face off against these public league Red Northwest opponents, they have been hot. 4-2, a 4-1 conference record. Westinghouse currently sitting in 3rd place with a 4-2 record. They have a chance to move up to that 2nd spot possibly here tonight if Orr is able to knock off North Lawndale and the Warriors are able to knock off Lane Tech. And then looking at the rest of the conference, there's kind of 2 levels right now. Farragut, the 4th place team, kind of rounds out the top half, and then the bottom half is just all struggling. So Farragut 4-2. So you have Young, North Lawndale, Westinghouse, Farragut, all with 4 wins and a variety number of losses. But you move into the bottom part of the conference. You have a team in Clark, they're 1-2. They just have not played a lot of conference games. There was 1 forfeit win, so they might technically be a 2-2. They're 1-2. Lincoln Park 2-3, or 1-3. Lane 1-3. Perspectives 2-4, and Prosser 1-4. So if we look at this quickly, that's 5, 7, 8 combined wins for the bottom 6 teams in conference play to go along with 5, 11, 19. So 19 losses in the first 4 or 5 games of the conference season for the bottom 6 teams. And it's going to set up an interesting battle. There may be a little bit of controversy at the top. Whitney Young 4-0. There always is 1 or 2 teams that contend with them for that conference title. But the bottom is where things are going to get interesting. And we said we'd talk about this, so we will talk about this for a little bit. Lane comes into tonight 1-3. 6-8 overall. However, if they drop tonight's game, they're going to fall into the bottom 2 because they'll be 1-4. Prosser, even if they lose, will be 1-5. But Prosser does have the tiebreaker over Lane Tech, so depending on how whoever operates the standings looks at it, there's a good chance Lane Tech could drop into the bottom 2 if they don't win tonight. Meanwhile, if they do win tonight, they get that 2nd win. They'll probably be in a 5th, 6th, 7th spot, but above the relegation road as of right now. So this is going to be a big game tonight, this big second half, and then a big couple of weeks coming up Obviously, we mentioned tomorrow they travel to Ohio. That's not a conference game or anything, but next week, 2 big conference games. They host Orr, which should be their easiest conference matchup yet left this season. Obviously, no promises can be made, but that's the game they are most likely to win. So they're going to very much want to get a win there. Then they travel to Whitney Young for a 7 p.m. Friday night tip-off. On the road against the Dolphins, and then Monday they play Clark, Monday the 23rd, a rare Monday game. That game got made up from December, and then finally North Lawndale, they travel to play the Phoenix on January 25th. So after their game tomorrow, 4 straight conference games on the schedule for the champions, and if I'm correct, yeah, that's going to close out the conference schedule. So there's only 12 days left until Lane Tech wraps up the conference play. We'll see their city playoff seeding after that. We will see how they're looking for IHSA state seeding. Lane Tech hosting a regional this year, so they're obviously going to want to be a high seed. And a lot of that's going to depend on how they close out this conference schedule. And that first starts with a good second half against this Westinghouse Warriors team. The Warriors lead 25-23 as we get ready to start off quarter number 3 of play. On the court to start off this half, it's going to be Butler, Bole, Bolden, Craig, and Giles, the 5 for the Warriors. As for Lane Tech, they're going to go with Scantlebury, Tsor, Solibo, Labcon, and Williams, the 5 for the champions. Westinghouse in their white uniforms will going from right to left across your screen. Lane Tech, when they get possession in their green uniforms, will be going from left to right. One of the first times Lane Tech has worn their away green uniforms this season, as Bole, who I think has been held scoreless here tonight, gets the basketball out of the inbounds. Crowd still filing in and out here of Westinghouse Gymnasium. A pretty good crowd for some Friday night public league hoops here at Westinghouse College Prep. Took a minute for either team to score in the first half as a 3 ball on its way from Bolden. That one bounces off the rim but into the hands of a Warriors player. So they'll get a second chance at it as Giles swings it to Bole, and he makes Lane Tech fall behind by 5 now. Askia Bole with a big 3 to go up 28-23. 7:10 to play now in quarter number 3. Lane Tech really cannot manage to fall behind big here to start off the third quarter. Scantlebury to Labcon, thought about the 3, now punches it down low to Scantlebury. Nice ball movement here and finishes with a 3 from Parker Williams. Williams, who did not score at all in the first half. We've not been able to say that about him much this year, but he gets the 3 and cuts it to a 2-point game with 6:45 to go in the third. Nice defense here from Lane, leads the ball out of bounds. And it will stay possession with the Warriors. So we'll see if Parker Williams is able to put together his normal performance. He's coming up with 14 points, 10, 12, 14 a game. He had 14 against Lincoln Park on Wednesday. If he's able to put together a performance like that and get all those points in the second half, that could be a key as Bole pulls for the long 3. Can't get to go. Rebound Giles, who goes up for the 2 and finishes. Lane Tech leaves the offensive rebound up for grabs. Giles takes advantage, finishes with the 2, and puts the lead back up to 4 here with 6:14 to go. As we mentioned, Lane Tech 1-5 in their last 6 matchups with the Warriors, trying to get their first win against Westinghouse since 2014, back when I was in 3rd grade, because it was in February of 2014. A lot of these players, 3rd grade, 2nd grade, even 1st grade for some of these sophomores on Lane Tech. It's been a long time since Lane Tech took a win against Westinghouse, as Scantlebury with a might have gotten some fingers on it. If not, it was just very good defense to the basket, keeping points off the board there. Williams pushes it in transition. Lane Tech does not have numbers, but still decides to push forward with their offense before Jackson Labcon dribbles things out. 5:40 to play here in the third quarter. Spin around, finally Shahid Solibo pockets a bucket. Nice score there by the sophomore to cut into this lead, and that was our key at the halftime. If Lane Tech can get Shahid Solibo involved, we kind of forgot about Williams, but they can get Williams involved. That's going to be the key if Lane Tech can start getting some of these starters points. Now everyone on the court except Jack Tsor has found their way onto the scoreboard as he tried to save that one, but threw it out of bounds. And basketball will stay here. It will move to the Warriors. 5:13 to play. Almost 3 minutes into this half number 2. It was a 2-point lead at the half for Westinghouse. Currently still 2-point lead as Scantlebury punches that one away and gets 2 blocks on the same possession. Shahid Solibo in transition and goes for the layup. Play it safe there. Thought he was ready for an electrifying dunk, but instead just takes the points, and we're all knotted up at 30 with 4:50 to go. Crowd was ready to go wild. I think even the away crowd was, as a quick response from Bolden gives Westinghouse back the lead, and this is more like what we saw near the end of the second quarter. Back and forth offensive play as Ali gets ready to check into the game. Scantlebury playing in the post, punches it out to Solibo. They put Craig on Scantlebury. Scantlebury has a couple inches on him, but Craig has done a good job putting his body into Scantlebury, keeping him from being super productive offensively, as Craig now pulls for 3 and gets it to go. A little bit of momentum squashed there that Lane Tech had as the Warriors go back up to by 5 halfway through this quarter number 3 of play. Jack Zor tries to get past his defender and pushes it out to Labcon. Labcon guarded by Boley here. Very tight defense, and finally a foul is going to be called. Coaching staff and bench for Westinghouse not happy with that call. Lane Tech, quite the contrary. They thought a little bit too aggressive of defense there, as we see Butler check out of the game. He's been held scoreless here tonight. He's had a couple big games, scored 13 against Ridgewood, had a double-double actually against Ridgewood, but Lane Tech's done a good job containing him as Jack Zor tried for the pick-and-roll type play with Scantlebury. It does not work, and Boley stepped out of bounds there on the long pass down the court, so a couple of errors there on both the sides. And a full timeout is going to be called here by Westinghouse. So 3:40 to go here. Lane Tech still trailing 35-30. Westinghouse has moved a 2-point halftime lead into a 5-point halftime lead. Lane Tech has subbed a little less aggressively here in half number 2. However, it looks like Lorenzo Aquino will be checking in out of the timeout for the champions. I think the most impressive plays we have seen tonight for the champions. We saw Aquino cut to the basket once. We saw Labcon finish with 2 very, very good left-handed layups. Both of those 2 have been very impressive here tonight. And we will see if they can spark a little more magic for Lane Tech as they look to get back into this one and possibly take back the lead with 11:40 left of game time here at George Westinghouse College Prep. It was a pretty quick ride up here on the team bus. It only took about 30 minutes or so for Lane Tech to get up here. Lane ends up not being that far from Westinghouse. They're pretty close when you look at north-south wise, and then they just have to go a little bit west. But Westinghouse and Lane pretty close. Wouldn't exactly call them rivals, but geographically not many high schools that much closer to Lane, at least ones that Lane plays against in sports. As we're going to see an interesting substitution here. Kenny Rosario checks into the game for the champions. Lane has used Rosario in very interesting ways. He doesn't have a lot of height, has not scored a lot this season for Lane Tech, but he's a very, very good defensive player. And they're going to bring in Rosario, I assume, looking for some extra defense now, as he also can push the pace very well in transition, I should say. As Aquino gets stopped up here by Ali. It's Aquino, Scantlebury, Tsor, Rosario, and Solibo, your 5 on the court for the champions. Boley, Bolden, as Solibo hits a 3. Apologies, folks. Not sure if our camera was there for that one, but an excellent 3 there from Shahid Solibo. He's now up to 7 points in the second half, 7 points on the game. As we were saying, it is Solibo, Giles, Craig, who almost finishes with the 2. Boley and Ali, the 5 on the court for the Warriors. Lane Tech with a chance to tie it with a 2, take the lead with a 3, 2:50 to go. So Lebo's heating up, would not be surprised to see him make a cut to the basket here as he screens to the right. Instead, it's Rosario cutting to the basket. Now Aquino fumbles the basketball on the ground. It's a 3 from Rosario. He can't get it to go. Scantlebury tries for the 2, and a player, that was Craig, fell to the ground with his hands on his head. It looks like he comes up okay. Cutting to the basket, Bolden, and a charge taken by Jack Zor. A big collision there on the baseline. I assume there might be a blocking foul called there, but no, it's going to be another charge taken by Jack Zor. He checks out of the game for Dylan Pepper, and now this is kind of something I'm surprised it's taken this long for Lane Tech to do. They're going to put their 5 post players on the court right now. So we have Dylan Pepper, who's a tall player, can play in outside, but also can play in the post, and also Dalton Scantlebury into the game to try to give Lane Tech a little bit of a height lift, maybe get some down-low scoring in this one. As Giles to the basket. This time a foul is called by, that's Craig to the basket. This time a foul called on Solibo, the second of the half against Lane Tech, and it will be Craig looking to extend this lead, currently at 2 points for the Warriors. Still anyone's game, 2:07 to play in quarter number 3. Thanks for joining us. Alex Burstein on the call here from Westinghouse. Lane Tech looking to bounce back after a 74-64 loss to Lincoln Park on Wednesday. Westinghouse has lost 2 in a row by 30 to Curie and then by 5 to North Lawndale on Wednesday. They would love to get a win here tonight, as I believe a lane violation there on Craig. He left a little too early trying to rebound his own shot. He goes 1 for 2 from the line, and it will be just a 3-point lead for Westinghouse, as checking into the game for Bole is going to be number 12, Dwayne Brooks. Now Brooks does come into the game as Pepper gets it to Solibo, and he will slow down the offense. So the last time up the court, we really did not get to see Lane play much with those 2-point posts. We'll see what they can do here as Scantlebury spin move, dunks it at the basket. Apologies, folks, not sure if we got that one on camera, but an excellent move by Dalton Scantlebury. He finishes with the jam and gets Lane Tech within 1 here. Very impressive there from from Dalton Scantlebury. This one goes around the rim, and Lane Tech back in possession of the basketball. 90 seconds to play. They can take the lead with any field goal made here at near the end of the third quarter. Down low, they get to Scantlebury. That one was kind of sandwiched between him and his defender. And on the other side of things, a block from Shahid Solibo. Lane has had some very good blocking tonight from both the likes of Solibo and Scantlebury. I'll be excited to see what the statistics show here tonight of number of blocks as a team and for those 2 individuals, as Solibo and Rosario check out the game for both Bartoli and Williams, who come in. They swing it around, a little bit of a tip there, but it still goes into the basket. Nice shot there from Giles. Some good closeout defense from Bartoli, but it will not matter as the 3 goes down, and it's once again a 4-point lead, 60 seconds to play in quarter number 3. Williams dancing around, trying to find someone to pass to. Instead goes up for the 2, gets fouled, and now we're seeing some more fouls called near the end of the half. That's going to be just a 4 foul. Apologies. Earlier we said it was Lane Tech's 2nd foul of the half. The scoreboard had already changed, so it's actually the 1st of the half for the champions. They've only had 1 so far, and that could be an advantage or a disadvantage if they either don't want to send or they do want to send Westinghouse to the line late in this one, as first free throw is hit from Williams. He's up to 4 on the night. 2nd shot up and good as well. So cuts it back to a 2-point game. 47 seconds left on the clock. At the end of the 2nd quarter, we saw Lee hold it for 20 seconds, end with a 3. It's like a little more of a set-piece play here for the Warriors near the end of quarter number 3. Ali thought about the 3 there, instead gives it to Craig, and they will reset it top the key. That's an open 3 from NBA range, and this time Ali can't hit. Pepper tries to bring down the rebound, fights for it, gets it, and Lane Tech's going to push it in transition. Bartoli's open for 3, instead decides to drive and gets the 2 to go. Dalton Scantlebury Drew Bartoli ties it up. 10 seconds to go here in quarter number 3. We'll see if Westinghouse can close out back-to-back quarters with 3. It's on its way. Giles can't hit it, and the buzzer will ring, and we are all tied up through 3 quarters of play. 39-39 should be a fun final 8 minutes of regulation here from Westinghouse. Don't go anywhere. You're watching Lane Tech Boys Basketball here on the Lane Tech Athletics YouTube channel. .554 local time here in Chicago as Lane Tech looks to get what would be a big conference win on the road here, and they have 8 minutes to try to do it. 39-39 is your score between Westinghouse and Lane Tech. Battle of two teams with white, green, and yellow as their colors. No yellow jerseys here tonight, but we do have a lot of white jerseys for the Warriors and green for Lane Tech. It's been a tight matchup. Both teams have had their runs. The biggest lead of the day was an 8-point lead by Lane Tech in the second quarter. But other than that, it's been a lot of back and forth play. We thought Westinghouse was maybe going to take control at the start of the third quarter. They were not able to do it. And with that, it's a tie game as we enter the fourth quarter of play. So Lebo's going to inbound it. He's on the court with Williams, Scantlebury, Bartoli, and Labcon. So the starters plus Bartoli instead of Jack Torres. So Lebo was somehow on the ground there at the end. And substitutes going to come into the game as Oscar Bole checks in to start off this fourth quarter. So a 5-second possession to start off this quarter number 4 for the champions. They feed it to Giles, spin move, but Scantlebury, good job staying on his feet and got, I think, a fingertip on that one. So a very good job there by Dalton Scantlebury to keep this one at a tie game. This pass gets tipped, goes out of bounds. Possession will stay with Lane Tech. Very back and forth play as Lane Tech looks for their first win against Westinghouse since 2014. That one was on neutral court. That was the only win on record on Max Preps. I'm not sure the last time, if ever, Lane Tech has won at this gymnasium, as 3-ball off the mark here from Jackson Labcon. Still no one has scored over half a minute into this quarter number 4. See if Westinghouse can break that drought here. Ali goes with a nice-looking jumper. Look at the arc on that shot. Just so hard to stop. Goes so high into the air. And he puts his team up 41-39 with 7 and change to play in the fourth. Labcon pushes it out to Williams, and a travel's going to be called. Williams was going to hit the 3. I did not see that. Head coach Nicholas Lagalbo did not see that. That's the second of the night. I think Williams was just taking one step with a dribble, but the referees did not see it the same way, and Westinghouse will get the basketball back. We'll see if that can be a difference maker for either one of these teams. Either some momentum to motivate Lane Tech, or if Westinghouse can move this to a 2-possession game. Giles down low, can't get the first finish, but finishes with one hand the second time around. And he pushes the lead up to 4 with 6.5 to play, 43-39. Lane Tech started off the third quarter kind of slow as Bole gets called for the pushing foul. That we're going to keep track of fouls here. That's the 4th against Westinghouse. So they have 2 more to give, 3 more fouls, and Lane Tech will be shooting. Very important in a close game like this. As Solibo gets the inbound pass. I think both the teams as well have most, if not all of the, I think 3 for Westinghouse, maybe 4 for Lane Tech, as Williams hits the 3. He had his last one not count because of a travel call. This time does it cleanly and finishes with the 3 points. Bolden tries for a quick response and gets it to go. So 45-42, 6 minutes and counting in this fourth quarter. Both the teams, it seems like they're kind of in sync. They're either both missing their shots, they're both scoring layups, or they're both hitting some very impressive jumpers and 3s. Labcon's been quiet scoring as of recently. Williams to the basket, can't finish with the 2. And now it'll be Askia Bole gets tripped up by Salibo, and a pushing foul is going to get call against Salibo. That's at least his second, possibly his third here tonight. He fouled out against Lincoln Park on Wednesday, as Lorenzo Aquino is going to check into the game for Bartoli. So this is what the starting lineup looked like at this. Actually, no, Jack Sawyer was instead of Labcon, but somewhat similar looking to the starting lineup we saw at the start of the year for Lane Sack, with Labcon, Aquino, Scantlebury, Salibo, and Williams, your 5 on the court right now for the champions, as they look to cut into this 3-point deficit. Westinghouse, though, would love to make this a 2-point game. Nice pass there from Giles. He finds Bolden. Now back to Giles, who pulls for 3. And hopefully we get back on the air here. Apologies for that, folks. Our computer looked like it was charging, and then it was not charging, but I think we should be back here. 4:46 to go, as the second free throw is good from Bolden to move the lead up to 8 here, 50-42 with 4:44 to go, and a timeout's going to be called by Lane Sec with 4:44 to go exactly. Going to charge a full timeout, it looks like there. Some confusion there with Lane Tech coaching staff. So a nice job there by Bolden to complete, I believe, a 3-point play. I was looking down trying to figure out how to get this stream back up when they hit that shot. But either way, it's going to be an 8-point lead. That's the largest it has been tonight for Westinghouse. We have not seen lead by more than 8 by either one of these teams. There's been no double-digit leads for either one of these squads here tonight, but Westinghouse would love to be able to do that here almost midway through the final quarter of play. Thanks for joining us. Alex Burstein on the call here from Lane Tech. It's been a fun night of action so far, and Lane Tech trying to come back to win this one. Haven't seen any score updates from the other Red Northwest games yet here tonight, but could be a lot of movement in the standings dependent on this game and the other ones in action here this evening, as Scantlebury gets it to Aquino. Guarded by Bolden, Lane Tech finds himself down by 3 possessions here with 4.5 to play. It's Labcon, Scantlebury, Salibo, Aquino, and Williams. Still the 5 on the court. Salibo goes to the basket, and a foul's going to be called. Blocking foul. One referee appealed to the other for the call, but they stick with it being a blocking foul, and Salibo's going to head to the line. He's had 7 this half after being held scoreless in half number 1. So he's been a good part of why Lane Tech has stayed in this one. And with 2 free throws here, he can cut this to a 6-point game. His first shot is up and good. Earlier in the year, we saw some struggles from Salibo at the free throw line, but as of recent, him and Lane as a whole have been more consistent from the line, as we see Ali check into the game for Butler there. It's very similar substitutions throughout the entire game for Westinghouse. We've seen Ali come in for Butler. We've seen Bole go in and out with Brooks. Very set rotation here for Westinghouse, as 50-44. Another turnover here from Westinghouse. Lane Tech looking to cut this to a 1-possession game. They can do that with Jackson Labcon 3, who's got it to go. 50-47, timeout called by Westinghouse, a full timeout. That's their 3rd here tonight. They have 2 left in the game, and just like that, it went from an 8-point lead to a 3-point lead for the Warriors. Jackson Labcon, who's had himself a very good first quarter, he's now up to 10 points. He's really finding out how to be a productive scorer on this Lane Tech team. Had none against Ignatius, 5 against Schurz. Not a great end to 2022 and start to 2023 for him, but then it switched up, and he had a very, very good game against Lincoln Park. In that losing effort, had 10 points. I believe he had 10 against West Aurora before those couple of quiet games. And then tonight here, another big performance. Excuse me, he had 13 against Lincoln Park. Tonight he's up to 10, including that very big 3. And he cuts this to a one-possession game with 4:08 to go. We'll see if either team make rotation adjustments. Lane Tech's going to break with the same 5 of Aquino, Williams, Solibo, Labcon, and Scantlebury. It'll be the 5 of Giles, Bulle, Bolden, Craig, and Ali for the Warriors. Lane Tech's going to move into a full-court press. They were haunted by the press of Lincoln Park. Now they're hoping to do some damage against this Westinghouse offense, and I think he stepped out of bounds. The referee will agree. Askia Bole tried to split the press by just running across the sideline. His foot went out of bounds, though, and Lane Tech very quickly could tie this one up. 4:05 to go in quarter number 4, and we are in for a very fun final half of a quarter here from Westinghouse. Will be followed by the JV game between these two schools as Solibo gets called a blocking foul. Wow. Lucky break there for Lane Tech. Solibo ran into Giles, and instead the star tonight for Westinghouse gets marked with a foul. That's team foul number 6. So the next one's going to send Lane Tech to the line. But what would have been a turnover and probably an easy 2 for Westinghouse instead turns into keeping possession for Lane Tech. So he moves Solibo up the sideline a little bit to tie his shoe. He's going to inbound it. Lane Tech have currently their other 4 guys at the free throw line. We'll see how they break. They screen down and they get it to Williams. Williams in the post, goes up for the 2. Can't get to go. Would have been a nice finish there for the junior, and instead Bolden off to the races. Tries to get around Solibo in the corner, goes through the legs of Giles there. A rare mistake, through the legs of Craig. A rare mistake on those around the perimeter passes that Westinghouse has been so good at here tonight. And Lane Tech will once again have the chance to tie this one up. 50-47, Lane Tech trails Westinghouse. 3:45 to go in this one. Thanks for joining us. It's been a fun first 3.5 quarters, and we'll see if this one can get wrapped up in regulation or if we're headed to overtime. The floater from Labcon, airball there. He's shrugging his shoulders, thought that there was contact on that one, but the foul's not going to be called. Next foul puts Lane Tech into the bonus here. Lane Tech has about 4 fouls to give. They have only had 2 so far through the first 13 minutes of the second half. They've been playing very clean as a travel is going to be called against Askia Bole. Both the teams not happy with a couple of calls from the referees. This one goes in favor of Lane Tech, though, and they'll try to run the length of the court to either get a 2 cut to 1 or a 3, tie it up. So they move Williams from the baseline to the sideline. That's where he's going to inbound it. Williams gives it to Labcon. 3:10 and counting in this 4th period of play from Westinghouse. Labcon finds Solibo. The long 3 to tie it up. That one no good. Lane Tech rushing some shots. Scantlebury gets fouled going up for the 2. Was not able to finish it, but they will send the big man to the line. He's had a nice night. I believe 10 points for him. And his first trip to the free throw line, he went 2 for 2. Would love to have another 2 here. Williams and Solibo into rebound. The rebound could also be very big for Lane Tech here. As first shot is up and no good. Looking back to the last time these two teams met, it was a 5-point win at Lane Tech last year. 2 years ago, 51-37 win, and then 3 years ago, 47-45 win for Westinghouse when a game-winning 3 by Lane Tech went around the rim and out by Sean Malloy. Scantlebury misses both but gets his own rebound. Now Aquino thought about the 3, instead goes for the long 2 and can't get the lucky bounce. Gets his own rebound, no, goes up for 2, misses it. Now Solibo for the tie, chance number 4, he gets it! Shahid Solibo on try number 4 of the possession ties it up, and it's 50-50. Brand new ball game with 2.5 to play. How about that from Lane Tech? They have not been an offensive rebounding team this year. They've been out-rebounded offensively on the glass, it seems like, in a lot of their games. But this time they get it when it counts. Scantlebury with a big block, and now it's Williams off to the races. Lane Tech trying to take back the lead for the first time in a while. Aquino feeds Labcon, thought about the 3. Instead it's Williams. He goes up the middle, spin around 2, misses it, and another offensive rebound. How about this late performance from Lane Tech as Jackson Labcon has 13 for 2 straight games. It goes from a 3-point deficit to a 3-point lead for the champions with 1:45 to go on the road here at Westinghouse. The 3 to tie it, and he gets it to go. That's the loudest the Westinghouse crowd has been here tonight. I believe that was Giles once again. He cannot be stopped here tonight, and it's a 53-53 game. I'm very surprised we have not seen a timeout called by either of these squads as Labcon loses it. Bole with the scoop and score. It's good. 55-53. Westinghouse with the lead. 80 seconds and counting. Scantlebury inbounds it to Labcon. Once again, very surprised we have not seen a timeout from either of these coaching staffs. Both the teams playing kind of frantically, and finally we're going to see a timeout called by oh, whoa, no, they didn't call it. Lane Tech was trying to call a timeout. I believe they called an 8-second violation. He did not get up the court in time. We're going to see once they break the huddle what the final call is. There's a chance it's going to be possession to Westinghouse after this one, and that would be a big break for the Warriors. To recap these last minute of gameplay, we saw Solibo on the 4th shot of the possession for Lane Tech hit a 3, tie the game. Couple of seconds later, after a turnover, we saw the 3 from Labcon, but then Giles hits the 3. We saw a fumble in the backcourt by the Warriors, and closing out the lead is Oski Abole. Hasn't had a super loud game. We said he was due for a performance, and he gets a big time 2 here as Lane Tech sees their another conference loss, another close conference loss in sight if they're not able to do something. I mean, you read through these conference scores, the 8-point loss to Lincoln Park, kind of an anomaly. They lost to 7 by Farragut. That game went to overtime. They lost by 2 to Prosser. They've had some very, very close conference losses this year. And they really do not want to add this one to the story tale here tonight. Scantlebury, Solibo, Aquino, Labcon, and Williams, your 5 on the court. They will say Lane Tech got the timeout off in time, so they are going to keep possession with Lane Tech. Labcon is going to inbound it. They get it to Aquino. They were talking about the bus today. This team worked a lot on breaking the press. They do it with ease. Scantlebury taking it to the hoop, goes for 2. Can't get the and 1, but will have the chance to tie it up with free throws. That was McIntyre on the defense. He thought no foul was warranted there, but the senior does not get the benefit of that. McIntyre hasn't been super loud tonight. When I was looking through stats, I saw one of the crazier stat lines of all season for him. It was McIntyre 24 rebounds as Scantlebury with the first free throw is apologies, folks. The stands are shaking here. If the Westinghouse fans trying to keep Lane Tech's Scantlebury from scoring. So that is why we have the shaking camera. 55-53. Still a lot of time left in this one. 61 seconds of gameplay as they get to stomping again. Second free throw. This one is up and good. So Scantlebury goes 1 for 2 from the line. And another timeout's going to be called. This one, it looks like by, oh, interesting. Westinghouse calls timeout. So this is where things get interesting in a no shot clock world. if you're Westinghouse, you have a couple options here. You can go for the quick basket, the 2. And that puts you up by 3 if you make it. If not, if you don't make it, you still have the lead. 3, harder to make, but if you make it, that is now a 2-possession lead for your squad. So I'm sure that's definitely something that this Westinghouse team is considering doing. And then if you just hold the basketball, that's a hard thing to do. It's hard to hold the basketball for a final minute of play. But there's definitely a chance that Westinghouse does it. We saw them hold at the end of the third and the end of the second quarter. So they've done it, not for this long, but there's a chance they do it. They're first going to have to go through a, looks like 2-2-1 press by Lane Tech. So we have Springer and Solibo at the free throw line. Labcon and Aquino closer to the midcourt, and Scantlebury in the backcourt, as they're going to call a foul on Williams before they even inbounded it. Very lucky that Lane Tech's not in foul trouble here. That's just the 3rd foul called against them, so it will not be free throws. It's Craig inbounding it, gets it to Bole, and Lane Tech will send in a lot of guys. They're finally able to break it through Bolden. Bolden tries to get it into the corner, and he does. So now Westinghouse will try to take some time off the clock. Lane Tech will have to start fouling now if they think they're going to have to, because they're going to have to foul 4 times to put Westinghouse into the bonus. 40 seconds now and counting on the clock. Almost a steal there from Solibo. Craig loses it. Now they're double teaming him. They find an open Bole. 30 seconds counting on the clock. Springer holds Bole for the foul. It's not going to matter though, because that's just team foul number 4 on Lane Tech. This is what we talked about. You're talking about this in the Lincoln Park broadcast. You have to balance this as a coach. Your team has 3 fouls. When it gets into close game situations like that and you need fouls, now it's coming into trouble for Lane Tech. They may have to foul right out of the inbound pass as Williams goes to Bole. He's still playing tight defense. Bole blows past him. 20 seconds now. As Westinghouse, 15 seconds now, and another foul is going to be called again. So Westinghouse fans getting excited for this one. Looks like they may just be able to pull this one off. We saw leads as big as 8 for both of these squads. Westinghouse had a late lead. Lane Tech came back, tied it up, went up by 3, but since then it's been a 5-1 run by the Warriors to try to close this one out, and a timeout's going to be called by Lane Tech. So there's 5 fouls now on Lane. They're going to have to, if they want to put this into a free throw game, they're going to have to foul immediately and then foul immediately again. And with that, that will get them to 7 fouls, and it will send it to free throws for the Warriors. So that's the probably best possibility for the champions. I'm kind of surprised seeing what Westinghouse was doing that Lane Tech decided not to foul earlier. They let Westinghouse run out that clock for the first 20-25 seconds, and I think the first foul from Springer from Williams was possibly an accident. So Lane Tech really was not looking to do this game with free throws, and now it seems like that may come back to bite them late in this one. 55-54, Westinghouse on top of Lane Tech, 13.4 seconds. Thanks for joining us. Alex Burstein on the call. Fun first 37, first 31 and like 45 seconds of action, and it's all going to come down to the final 13.4 seconds here at Westinghouse's gymnasium. Bolden inbounds it. Bole trying to work it back. They're having trouble. Scantlebury tips it. Lane Tech has possession. Williams to Labcon. Labcon for the lead. Goes up. Can't get it. Rebound Lane Tech. Williams goes up. Misses it. Scantlebury. 5 seconds. Apologies, folks. Our mic went out there quickly for a second. And it's going to be free throws for Dalton Scantlebury late in this one. We're going to try to lift up the camera so it's not as shaky here. Scantlebury can tie it with 1, take the lead with 2. 3.5 seconds left. He went 1 for 2 his last trip. First shot is up and no good. And a big second free throw coming up here by Dalton Scantlebury. I'm not sure if Westinghouse has any free throws yet. Left, I should say. Excuse me, timeouts left. If they do, they might call it should Scantlebury make one here and try to get one more shot off. Scantlebury for the tie and keeping this game alive. And he gets it. Perfect shot there from Dalton Scantlebury. Timeout granted to, I believe, Westinghouse there. And we are all tied up at 55-55. So hold on to your seats at home, folks. We may be headed for overtime, which I feel is kind of appropriate for a game like this. So back and forth, so many ties, so many lead changes. An extra 5 minutes very well may be needed to determine this one. We've seen leads blown by both of these teams. We've seen some acrobatic finishes. The three-point shooting from Westinghouse. Wow, especially Isaiah Giles. How about that? So Lebo coming alive in the second half. This game had a lot of storylines going in. Westinghouse comes in as the big favorites. And even with that, 3.5 seconds left, we still do not know who is going to be taking home the win here on this Friday night. Out of the timeout, it's going to be interesting. They did not inbound the basketball, so I believe it's going to be length of the court to go for Westinghouse. 3.5 seconds isn't a lot, but I mean, it's not like 1 second where you have to immediately take hold of it and fling it up. There's a chance they can get a dribble, possibly even 2 dribbles after the ball gets into the hands of whoever Westinghouse player gets it. That being said, they have to get it in. Lane Tech's going to be, I'm sure, pressing very aggressively here. They can't leave the backcourt open. They go with kind of more of a 2-3 press here with Salibo and Williams near the free throw line. And we'll see what Lane Tech does. They push Giles. They're unable to get in yet. Tipped away from Aquino, and clock took a while to run here. It somehow still hasn't gone up, and they win it. A last-minute layup. I mean, the clock seems like it would have gone off for sure. That was a very long 3 seconds, but I think Westinghouse has won the basketball game. The referees are talking things over. You can't review it. There's nothing I don't think they can do, and this should go down as a win for Westinghouse. I'm not even sure who got that final two. It might have been Giles who came up with it. They stormed the player after he made the shot. I think the problem was they originally got tipped. They did not start the clock there. They didn't start it until the player got full control of it. And in heartbreaking fashion, it looks like Lane Tech may have dropped this one to Westinghouse. Players are lining up to shake hands. Fans got wild for that one. One of the best environments of the season Lane Tech has played in. And that is going to be it. 57-55 is your final. And I think there's actually some words being exchanged. Their referees are still talking things over. So this one, I mean, may not be over. Now the referees are heading off the court. Lane's staying on the bench. So this game not technically over. Westinghouse wants to do the handshake line. They want this one to be over. We'll stay on the air until the handshake line is officially over. I think head coach Nicholas Legalbo told his team to just go for the handshakes. Not much you can do in a high school setting, and that is going to be that. 57-55. Westinghouse, on a questionable clock management at the end of this one, pulls out the victory. Lane Tech is going to drop another one, their second in a row, to fall to 6-9 on the year, 1-4 in conference play. They may be finding themselves at the bottom two of the conference at the end of tonight. And then now they'll head to Ohio tomorrow for their first out-of-state game of the year. Fun night. Solibos shined. Blabcon had another good game. The two head coaches talking things over right now, but Westinghouse does just enough to pull this one out. Isaiah Giles, just such an impressive game here tonight for him. And with that, Westinghouse is going to get win number 11 on the season, and they're in a good chance to contend possibly for a conference title. They had 2 losses, but Whitney Young forfeited one. If Whitney Young drops another, there's a chance Westinghouse could be competing for a conference title, and they'll have good seeding for the city tournament. A heartbreaking loss on this Friday night for the Lane Tech champions. That's just about all the coverage we have here tonight. Your final score from Westinghouse College Prep. Westinghouse Warriors 57, Lane Tech champions 55. My name's Alex Burstein. Good night.